You are listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, and my mate, James Jones. West Ham United have finally won a Premier League game of football, albeit against one of the worst teams ever to grace the Premier League. Once again, the curse of losing to West Ham United strikes as Frank Lampard was sacked as Everton manager. Such was the embarrassment, as it is to so many teams, of losing to the Hammers 2-0 at London Stadium on the weekend. James Jones was there. West Ham United are out of the relegation zone. Jonesy, absolutely delighted to see West Ham get 3 points on the board, but a bit of a strange week because also we had the announcement that legend of the club, icon, one of the most amazing transfers West Ham United have ever seen, Craig Dawson, has left for Wolves, deciding to go back up to the Midlands to join his family. And I'm not going to lie, James, I was genuinely heartbroken when he left, and Twitter was an amazing place to be, West Ham Twitter, after Craig made the announcement. All sorts of montage videos going up. Dawson put one up of his own, as well as a message to fans. He clearly knows and feels how much he's loved by the West Ham supporters. I figure we'd start there before we go on to do the Everton reaction in a little bit more detail, because obviously the 3 points aren't actually going to mean anything when we lose all three of our next games in February.
Yeah, it kind of overshadowed the 3 points, didn't it? Big Ballon Dawson leaving. Like,
I was heartbroken.
Even after the game, we were sitting in the pub, and me, my brother, and a couple of mates, and we were kind of sitting there watching the late kickoff, going, "We should be really happy that we've won." But there's something doesn't feel right. Something feels off. And then we couldn't really put a finger on it. And then we woke up the following morning, and then we get the announcement. And it's my brother's birthday as well. He was absolutely livid that it ruined his birthday.
God, that's not what you need, is it?
Nah. And to get the announcement, seeing him a Wolves kit, and it was a real dagger to the heart, because you kind of knew he was going. We'd fought for him, and we got him to stay for another 6 months. But it's
forced him to.
Yeah, kind of forced him, almost blackmailed him into it.
Or said, "You've got a contract here, so you're honouring it."
Yeah, and it's just just such a dagger to the heart, just so heartbreaking. It's like the equivalent to your missus going, "Look, I do still love you, and part of me really wants to be with you, but
not as much as I love this bloke.
But not as much as I love this bloke. Not as much as I like the idea of this life over here. I'm gonna leave because I want to try something new." And I still love you. I still love you. The kids still love you, but I'm off. And that's what I felt like on Sunday morning when I got that. I was like, I can't believe he's left us. It was painful.
Now, because of everything he's done for the club in the 2.5 years that he spent, honestly, mate, when I was watching the video, and I sort of forgot, because it wasn't as memorable and iconic as Declan's or Jared's goals at Lyon. I forgot he scored there almost. So you're watching all the videos back, and he nods it in, because that was the one I couldn't really tell whether it had gone in or not from where we were sat up high up in the away end. I couldn't really tell whether it had gone in or not. And I watched it back the other day, and I was like, God, I remember I'd forgotten that he scored. He actually scored in the greatest game of my life. And yeah, I don't know. Is there any part of you that thinks, and this is very much, I'd like to make it clear, a devil's advocate question, and not at all a reflection on any of my feelings. Is there any part of you that thinks we are in trouble here, Dawes? Right? Could you not have done another 4 months till the end of May? And look, you don't know what's going on, and you obviously it's a family issue or a family thing, and you can see in his message he said, "Now's the right time to go back up to my family." We know Wolves tried to get him in the summer, so it's obviously an appealing move for him. He spent time before in his career. Obviously, he was at Watford before us, but he played for West Brom for a long period of time as well. Is there any of you that thinks that goes, Well, we are actually in trouble, mate, or we are still in the knockout stages of the Conference League, so you could have had another European adventure. Could you not have just stuck it out literally 4 more months?
You could look at it and go, mate, look, you did an extra 6 months that you didn't really want to do. Like, what's another
Yeah.
4? What's another 5? You know, but it was very, very obvious that he wanted to be nearer to his family, and he spent a good 5 or 6 years away from the Midlands if you include his time at Watford. So
Yeah, but Watford's Hertfordshire, it's halfway there, isn't it?
well, I mean, I'm in Hertfordshire, and I don't feel like I'm anywhere near the Midlands, to be fair.
Well,
But
you are, mate. You're basically at London.
I'm not far from Watford's training ground. But yeah, I don't know. I get it. I understand it. And that understanding the predicament that he was in kind of makes me feel a little bit better about the situation. I have an element of empathy towards it, but yeah, I mean, he couldn't have left at a worse time, could he? All right.
And
Just
the thing
brush
is,
it under the carpet, doors. Like, just brush your family under the carpet for a little bit, and just help your real family out, mate. Help your real family.
Yeah, just for another sort of 4 months or whatever it'd have been. No, look, and if he had his heart set on it in the summer,
yeah,
and it didn't happen, then you can't really begrudge him, can you? And I we don't know the situation, of course, but you'd imagine that he's probably got kids in schools and that sort of stuff, and people go, "Oh, cry me a river, Premier League footballer earning 30 grand a week or whatever he's getting." Mind you, with the deal we signed him on, he's probably only getting about 5.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But no, and he said, "Oh, cry me a river," but he probably was, by the sounds of it, having to either commute from. Just say, obviously, you wouldn't have lived in West Bromwich. Let's get that straight. But commute from around that area. So even if it's like the Southern Midlands or whatever, it's still a 2-hour drive, isn't it? Probably to the training ground, either end of the day. If failing that, he'd be staying down in London. So that's nights here or there that he's not with his family and his children and stuff. So I don't personally begrudge him at all. There is a little bit of I think if it was the first time, i.e. Wolves hadn't come in the summer and it hadn't like come about in the summer, and the first time when we were in trouble and he just upped and left. But I think he clearly has given us another 6 months, and he's played perfectly well, hasn't he, since since the stuff come up in the summer with the first Wolves move. So he's already kind of gone, look, all right, fine. This isn't my ideal choice, but I'll stick around. I've got a contract, blah, blah, blah. And then the club did. So I thought the club's statement did suggest, the club's statement read to me, we're actually really annoyed about this, but we know how much the fans love him and it would be bad PR not to let on how annoyed we actually are. Because the statement was surprisingly curt.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah, I noticed
who they know is considered an absolute club legend.
Yeah, I noticed that. I did think it was very short, wasn't it? It was kind of, he's left. He's gone to Wolves. We'd like to thank him.
The club were reluctant to let him go, but it was Craig's wish. Thanks for everything.
I think, if you look at it though, very rarely does a player leave any club, let alone West Ham, probably maybe more so West Ham, where the fans are genuinely gutted about it, but at the same time are equally quite accepting of the fact that it was like he wanted to move on for personal reasons. Normally, if a player leaves, everyone's like, "Oh well, screw you then, mate. We've got better fish to fry over here." Or they force the move, and it's like, "Oh, you're going to be hated in East London forever now."
Yeah.
Very rarely does a player, particularly when it comes to a player that arrived and didn't play for 3 months on loan, everyone was like, what? I mean, I remember saying on this program, we might as well just send him back. What's the point of having him?
Yes, you did say that. Yeah, you hated him.
I didn't hate him. I was just a bit confused. Like, why is he even here? Like, what are you doing?
We should dig that one out. We should dig that.
But then he makes his debut 3 months later, and we keep 4 clean sheets in a row, lose 2 in 14, and he scores 4 goals, and it's just like, oh, blimey. Well, that's why they were holding him back a little bit, so he could hit the ground running. So, especially as a player that kind of arrived, and it was a very underwhelming signing, and he's left a hero, a cult hero, played a massive role in last season's run to the semi-final. Gave us one of the best moments we've ever experienced live. And leaves with the nickname Dawson. I mean,
yeah,
like, very rarely does a player leave a football club like that, in that scenario, in that situation, with the feeling that he's got from the fans. So yeah, I did think that off all the back of that, I did think that the club statement was a little bit unnecessary. Just big him up. Like, just tell him how much you love him, because that's all I want to do.
Yeah. I do think and even, you know what, like Moisey said, didn't he? He said, yes, he was asked, has it destabilised the club? And he said, yes, it has. And then he didn't play, which actually smacked of, I don't know this, by the way, I haven't got any information on it, but it smacked of player refusing to play, didn't it? And you often think that about prima donnas.
I don't think he's the type. He would never refuse to play.
It depends, does it? But he didn't play. Do you know what I mean?
Or maybe he just went like, I would prefer it if I didn't play. I prefer if I didn't play because I might get injured, might ruin the move.
Yeah,
but I will play if you desperately need me. But
yeah, right, fair enough. Yeah, but no, I think it's one of the most amazing stories that we've had, and West Ham fans will remember him forever, won't they? Because I remember, can you remember who it was we were trying to sign at that time? I don't know if it was a star centre back.
It was Coletta Carr, wasn't it? From Marseille.
And Marseille eventually went to Southampton.
Southampton, he's barely getting a game there.
No, it's completely average. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was him.
But I just remember the fury. Was that also one of those windows? I think it was as well.
It was the COVID window. It was the one that was in October.
Yeah, and we were just desperate for some signings, and then Craig Dawson rocks up. Yeah,
from relegated Watford.
Yeah,
yeah,
and who'd just been so like seriously average the rest, but genuinely he must have played the best football of his career. It must have been the peak of his career, mustn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Which I know you sort of seems funny. It's also hilarious how old he looks.
Yeah,
he literally looks about 45, doesn't he? Yeah. But no, it's definitely. I'm sure most of you have already listening. Gone on and seen all the montage videos and stuff. West Ham clips, who we love on this channel, have done a brilliant one. A brilliant sort of, it's like 6.5 minutes, but it's worth the watch. Like a departure montage. Dawson's done loads as well. We shared some of the stuff on the We Are West Ham podcast Twitter account. That's at @WeAre_West Ham. But look, James, that news obviously dominated the week, and genuinely hats off to Craig Dawson, because I think he was a phenomenal servant for West Ham United. He leaves certainly with all of my best wishes, and I know yours too.